Disneyland, the OG Disney park in Anaheim, California, is a dream Disney park for many people to visit. Here you get to walk in Walt Disney's footsteps, go on unique rides, and have a most amazing Disney experience in the first park that Walt Disney built in the world. So today I'm going to break down just how much it will cost you to take a trip out to Disneyland. In November 2023, I headed out to do a Christmas trip to Disneyland. I did do a solo trip from the UK, so today I'm going to break down how much everything cost me. If you are going to be doing a solo trip, this could be super helpful. However, if you aren't, it will still be quite useful because I can let you know the individual cost per person. So things like tickets or flights, you can find out how much it would cost for each person in your party. And then things like a hotel room. In the US, you're actually charged for the entire room. So as a solo traveller, you take on the full cost. And if there's two of you, you split the cost, stuff like that. So it could be super helpful still if you aren't a solo traveller. So let's break down those numbers so you can find out exactly how much a trip to Disneyland will cost you. My name is Sophie from Most Magical Guides, and I make videos packed full of tips and advice to help you visit the Disney parks like a pro, helping you to maximise the magic by mastering the planning. If you do like that type of content, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so you never miss a video. One of the big decisions you are going to make when planning your Disneyland trip is where to stay. I stayed at the Anaheim Hotel, which was across the road from the parks. It was just over a 5-minute walk to get there, which was fantastic. I would highly recommend checking out the hotels on Harbour Boulevard, and particularly the hotels that are kind of within that 5 or 7-minute range to get to the parks. There are loads and loads of hotels to pick from though, which is fantastic because Disneyland, unlike other Disney parks, is in the centre of a city. So the parks are entirely surrounded by hotels, which gives you lots of choice. If you are wanting the most convenient options, then I would go for these hotels that are opposite the entrance. Here you can take your midday breaks and it's just kinda on your feet because you don't have far to walk. Hotels that are 15 to 20 minutes away doesn't seem that far to walk. However, at the end of a long Disney day, it feels like a marathon. However, a lot of these hotels that are a bit further out do offer shuttle services or are on a bus route, so that is an option as well. But I love to take a midday break, so I decided to stay closer to the park and chose the Anaheim Hotel. This is one of the original hotels in Anaheim. It was actually built for the opening of Disneyland, and I absolutely loved the theming. This hotel has a super retro feel, but they've made it kind of modern. It's super lovely. The rooms are really comfortable, and you can actually see Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout from the hotel, and in the evenings you could see the fireworks from the pool, which is fantastic. The staff was super friendly, and every single day they would speak to me whilst I was on my way to the parks or coming back. So even though I was on a solo trip, I felt so welcome and I had people to talk to all the time, which was fantastic. I stayed at the Anaheim Hotel for 6 nights, and this cost me £910.96. I had actually gone on Expedia to book. Something I really like about Expedia is that the rates are often very competitive, but most importantly, they have a map feature. On here, you can actually see where the parks are and then all of the hotels in relation to the parks, plus the prices. So it's really handy to kind of get yourself familiar with the area and choose the hotels that will be best for you. I booked this hotel in January when there were sales on, and the price was meant to be about £1,400, but obviously I got a massive saving with it being just over £910. And this was perfect. To be so close to the park, I actually think this is a really good price. And something I would say is that the hotels that are the closest to the parks do tend to be in this range of around £900 to £1,500. So if you are solo, it can be a bit more expensive because obviously you are taking that cost on yourself, but you might want to then think about staying a bit further afield to make it more affordable. Just factor in the walk or maybe the buses or the shuttle. But if you are a family, the ability to split the room between you, or if you're a couple, £1,500 isn't that bad for a week-long stay, but I was lucky that I got it even cheaper. I think £910 was such a fantastic rate for 6 nights. So if you can book whilst there is a sale on, it's definitely worth doing so because you can save a lot of money. One of the other big expenses you are going to pay for are your flights. Now, obviously flying to Los Angeles is very expensive. It's about an 11-hour flight from the UK, so it can be quite pricey. However, again, I was booking in January, so there were sales on. Plus, I found a super handy hack that helped me save hundreds of pounds on my flight. I always love to fly Virgin Atlantic. I really love the service. The planes are really comfortable, and it's my preferred airline if I can use them when going to the US. When I started looking up this trip, the prices had come out for the flights, and to fly to Los Angeles was about £800 or so each way. So it was going to be just over £1,600 return flights. Now, of course, this is a huge sum of money and it's probably one of the most expensive elements to anyone's trip. However, I found a way to save a lot of money. Virgin Atlantic is an airline that does code sharing, and basically what that means is a few different airlines might all share the same flight. When I was looking up my flights, I looked at Virgin Atlantic's website, but what I also did was go on a Skyscanner to see what the prices for other airlines were. Because it was January, Air France were having a massive sale, and Air France happened to be one of the code-sharing airlines that work with Virgin Atlantic. The price difference, however, between booking for the exact same flight with Air France compared to Virgin Atlantic was huge. My flight cost me £530. And remember, my Virgin Atlantic quote was around £1,600. So I saved nearly £1,000 simply by booking with a different company, even though I ended up flying on the exact same plane. So it is absolutely worth looking at Skyscanner because here you can see the best prices for each flight. And if you're like me, you might be lucky and get a code sharing flight. So even though you're going to be on the exact same plane, you can save a ton of money by checking out the other airlines that code share with Virgin Atlantic. There are lots of airlines that do code sharing, so this is a top tip for whenever you're looking at flights because you can often find great deals this way. My flights cost me £530. Another expense that you're going to need are your Disney tickets. Now, there are a range of different ways you can buy your tickets, and of course you can choose to do multiple days, park hopper, you can add on multi-pass, there's lots of different things you can add, and of course that will affect the price. What's interesting to note is the maximum amount of days you can buy any ticket for is 5 days, and I was actually going to be spending 6 days in Disneyland, so what I did is I first bought a 5-day ticket from attractiontickets.com. Once again, because it was January, attraction tickets had on a sale, so I did get discount on the 5-day tickets, which was fantastic and made them a bit cheaper. The tickets I chose were a 5-day park hopper ticket. This is obviously slightly more expensive than if you were to do one park a day, which is a cheaper option, but I liked the flexibility of being able to go between the two parks, especially because they are opposite each other, so it's really handy because it gives you a lot of flexibility. Something else I also did was add Genie Plus to my ticket. Now, this has recently been rebranded. It is now called Multi-Pass. It works exactly the same way. When I purchased it, it was $25 a day to add it onto your ticket, and this gave you the option to join the shorter lightning lane queue. Something else I really enjoy is it also included Photo Pass, so you get all of your professional photographs that you get from the Disney photographers around the park and your ride photographs included. As a solo traveller, this is fantastic because it meant I got to have those full body shots that I wouldn't be able to get myself, and you just get such incredible photos, and I absolutely love PhotoPass. So the fact that it's included is amazing and well worth the cost for me. It is worth noting that this has gone up in price. It's around $30 a day now if you buy it in advance of your trip. If you did purchase multi-pass during your trip, it would be more expensive. So I would highly recommend adding it on to the length of your stay because it does help you save a lot of time in the queues, and the fact that you get the PhotoPass, it's a no-brainer really. I also needed a 1-day ticket because I was doing a 6-day visit. Now, attraction tickets don't sell 1-day tickets, so I just went directly to the Disneyland website. Again, you have a variety of different tickets. You can choose the number of days you need, whether you want park hopper, whether you want to add multi-pass. So the Disneyland website is a really great place to get tickets as well. So my 5-day ticket, that was a park hopper ticket that included Genie Plus, now known as Multi-Pass, cost me £475 from attraction tickets. For my one-day ticket, I chose a one-park ticket. I didn't have the park hopper option, but I did add Genie Plus, and that cost me £127. One of the most difficult parts about planning a trip to Disneyland is just how do you get there? There isn't a shuttle from LAX to Anaheim, which I was surprised about. I thought because a lot of people would be visiting Disneyland, that would be something that was on offer, but unfortunately that isn't the case. So you have a few options. You can either get an Uber or a Lyft, or you can get a private transfer or use public transport. Now, public transport is available. It does take between 3 to 4 hours, and you have to get on multiple trains. So if you're traveling with luggage, this can be a lot of hassle, and as a solo traveler I didn't fancy that. Perhaps if you have young kids it wouldn't be a good option either, so I went down the route of a private transfer. I went on a lot of different Disneyland Facebook groups to find out who everyone recommended, and this was super important for me for 2 reasons. One, as a female solo traveller, I wanted to go with a company that had a great reputation, that I knew was going to be safe, and also as someone who gets motion sick, I wanted to know the company, the drivers were very steady, very smooth, I wasn't going to feel ill, and every single forum, every single group, everyone recommended Diamond Driver Guy. Something I really loved about Diamond Driver Guy is they literally picked you up right outside the terminal. You just walked out the doors, let them know where you were standing, and they came and picked you up. But you also got a 30-minute stop at a supermarket. This was so handy because it meant during my trip I wasn't going to have to get Ubers to supermarkets and take time out of the parks to do so. And I was going to save money because the drinks are super expensive in Disneyland. Around $5 for a bottle of soda or water, which is crazy. So this stop at a supermarket was so beneficial and helpful for me. The rides were super comfortable, my drivers were amazing, I had so much fun. The time passed so quickly because we were just having a hoot, and you had loads of great options, like they had water available for you, they had snacks, you could choose what you wanted to listen to on the radio, and I was having the best time, so I can't recommend Diamond Driver Guy enough. My rides with Diamond Driver Guy cost me around £85 each way, and then I did also give a $20 tip because the service was fantastic. Because I wanted to have a relaxing travel day because it was going to be such a long flight, I stayed at an airport hotel at Heathrow the day before my flight. I stayed at the Ibis Styles at Heathrow, and my room cost me £80. I loved this hotel. Its theming was amazing. It was super comfortable, and the rate wasn't too bad at all for an airport hotel. The staff were really friendly because I had also booked parking for the night, but I'd accidentally pre-booked parking at another Ibis Styles that happened to be on the same road, and they were very kind and very generous, and they were like, you've already paid, so we're not going to charge you again, don't worry about it, which was fantastic, so it's one less thing to worry about. It was so handy to be so close to the airport and have a really good night's rest before a long travel day the next day, and it was also very close to my airport car park. The airport car park I use at Heathrow is called Purple Parking, so it is off-site, but they have a very frequent bus that takes you to all of the terminals. The journey is probably about 20 minutes depending on which terminal you are at, but it is perfect. It's so much cheaper than parking on site at Heathrow, and it's only a few extra minutes on the bus. My airport hotel cost me £80 and my airport parking cost me £69. The main cost of my holiday, which included my flight, my hotel, my Disney tickets, my airport transfers between LAX and Disney, and an airport hotel and airport parking in London, cost me a total of £2,406.76. Now, most of these costs, if you were to be going in a group, you would be able to pay per person. So tickets, of course, you would just times that by the amount of people who were going. Stuff like the hotel room in Anaheim, that cost would stay the same regardless of the amount of people in the room. So as a solo traveller, it's quite expensive, but the more people you have in the room, the more affordable it becomes. So I hope by seeing this, it gives you a good idea of how much a solo trip or just a trip to Disneyland in general might cost you. I also wanted to give you an idea of what some of the other things you need to budget for your trip might cost, such as dining, souvenirs and experiences. As well as amazing rides, fantastic character meets and great shows, Disneyland also has amazing events and special experiences. Something that was an absolute must-do for me was Walt's Main Street Tour, where you get to go inside Walt Disney's apartment on Main Street. If you love the Disney parks, Disneyland or Walt Disney, this is such a fantastic tour. I absolutely loved it. It was 90 minutes long. You get a private tour guide who first takes you down Main Street and gives you the history of the park before you enter Walt Disney's apartment. Once in the apartment, you get to hear amazing stories about Walt and his family, and you also have a photo pass photographer come in and take some awesome photos of you. To end the tour, you have some snacks and drinks out on the patio. And whilst I was there, it was the Christmas season, and when we were having our drinks, below us the Dapper Dans were singing Christmas songs, and it was perfection. Walt's Main Street tour costs $160, which with the exchange rate at the time cost me £132. Something else I also did whilst I was in Disneyland was do the World of Colour dessert party. World of Colour is the nighttime show over in Disney California Adventure, and it is spectacular. It is unlike any other show I've seen in a Disney park and features dancing water, fountains, lasers, lighting effects. It's really stunning. It can be super popular and people have to get there very early, and it is an all-standing event. And I was keen to not have to stand after those long days at Disney, so I decided to do the dessert party. Here you arrive an hour before the show starts, you get amazing seats with the best views, and you also get a range of desserts and unlimited soft drinks, hot drinks, and you can also have up to 2 alcoholic beverages for adults. I loved the dessert party. I had the most amazing view that was completely unobstructed. The seat was so great to sit in, and I really enjoyed the desserts as well. The World of Colour dessert party cost me $89, and with the exchange rate that came to £73. Something else that I did whilst I was in Disneyland was buy an individual Lightning Lane pass for Rise of the Resistance. Multipass, which was formerly called Genie Plus, covers a lot of rides, but the most popular rides, you can pay to ride them separately, so they won't be included in Multipass, but you do still have an option to skip the queue. Now, as a solo traveller, I was quite happy to pay the cost to go on Rise of the Resistance because it's one of my all-time favourite rides, and because it's more like a 25-minute experience, I thought if I was going to pay for an individual Lightning Lane, this is the one that is worth doing it for. However, of course, if you are a bigger group or a family, it can be very expensive to do individual Lightning Lanes because you have to pay for each person and it's only for one ride. The individual Lightning Lane cost for Rise of the Resistance was $26, which cost me £20.64. This was the only ride that I bought an individual Lightning Lane for. I was lucky that for the rest of the trip, all of the ride wait times were quite good, or I could utilise Genie Plus. One of the big expenses you will pay whilst at Disney is the dining. Now, Disneyland has such amazing food. You are going to be in for a treat. There is so much delicious fresh food and a lot of really interesting options. So you're not going to be stuck with typical theme park fare. There is a lot of variety and something for everyone to like. And something I was surprised about is how affordable it is. This was one of the best value parks for food that I have visited when it comes to Disney. Now, I had budgeted $100 a day and my trip was going to be 7 days in total. Now, admittedly, that first day was actually the travel day. So I did get something at the airport and something once I arrived. But of course, on the flight, you were getting meals. But I did decide to do the $100 a day for the entire trip. So I budgeted $700 in total. This was going to cover all of the meals that I was going to have, plus drinks, snacks, things like that. I like to plan my dining in advance, so I will go on the Disneyland website, look at the menus, see which ones appeal to me the most, so I know where to dine. As a vegan, I used the website Happiest Vegan on Earth because there I could find out every single vegan option available, but also, most importantly, reviews, so I knew exactly where the best food could be found. Disneyland has a lot of quick service restaurants and not many table service restaurants, and because of this it really helps you keep down the costs. The prices are very affordable for the meals. Some of the quick service meals are only around $11, so it's unbelievably cheap compared to somewhere like Disney World or even Disneyland Paris. I ate mostly quick service meals, but I did do 3 table service meals, including a character dining meal, and most days I did have 3 meals a day inside the park. So I was unbelievably surprised that when I got home and looked at my receipts, that I only ended up spending $401 on dining at Disneyland. This worked out at £319, so it was significantly cheaper than I budgeted for, which was such an amazing surprise. Even though I'd done table service meals, character dining meals, and had 3 meals a day inside the parks. So this was another area of my trip that I ended up saving a lot of money, which was fantastic. And the last thing I wanted to touch upon was the spending money. So this is completely subjective because of course everyone likes to spend different amounts. Some people are happy just to have one little souvenir. Some people, like me, like to buy a lot. So of course this is kind of just down to how much you can afford to take. I had budgeted to take £400 with me for souvenirs and I ended up spending £419, so came in quite close to the target, which was impressive. I did mostly buy clothing whilst I was out there. I would say t-shirts are typically around $30 to $35, and then I did get things like sweatshirts that are around $40 to $50, and I got like a little jacket, I think that was about $70 to $80. So those are the kind of things, if you were looking for clothing, that's the kind of prices you're going to find. I absolutely love clothing as a souvenir because one, I wear a lot of Disney clothing day to day, but also I feel like they're good value because you wear them a lot. So girl math, if I'm buying a t-shirt and I end up wearing it 100 times and it cost me $40, it actually was very cheap per wear. So this is a great souvenir to have. So the total costs for my food, my souvenirs and my tours and experience were £964 and 6 pence. And adding up absolutely everything, the total cost for my entire trip down to the penny was £3,370 and 82 pence. Now I was super fortunate because there were ways that I was able to cut down the cost of the trip when it came to things like the hotel and the flights because of those sales that were on. And of course there are other areas that you can save. You might not want to do as many meals in the park such as I did. You might not want to do any of the tours or experiences, and you might not need as many souvenirs. But I hope this video gives you an idea of the rough cost of what a trip to Disneyland may cost you. I would say if you are thinking about it, absolutely do it. It is such a wonderful park. You really do feel Walt's presence and the magic in the air. There's so many unique attractions and I loved how many roaming characters you had. The park felt so alive because of it and I had the absolute best trip. I will put a link to my vlog series so you I will put a link to my vlog series at the end of this video if you'd like to go and see all of the things I did whilst I was in Disneyland. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, I hope you have a most magical day. Bye bye.